In light of the Trump administration's recent rollback on birth control mandates, I would like to build the case for why birth control should be free and accessible to all women. This slide shows us pregnancies by intention status for the year of 2011. It's very surprising that nearly half of all births were unintended. Of those, 27% were mistimed, meaning that the mother did have future plans for having children, but the pregnancy happened too soon. 18% of those were unwanted, meaning that the mother had no intentions of ever becoming a mother. A solution for dealing with these unintended pregnancies is to give women more control and better options over their reproductive rights. And one way we can do this is by offering more birth control options. Birth control allows women to decide if and when they become mothers. Let's talk some social statistics. If you're a woman of color, you are twice as more likely than your white counterpart to have an unintended pregnancy. And if you fall below the poverty line, that number jumps up to 5 times more likely. 55% of 18 to 34-year-olds have reported that they struggle with costs of birth control, meaning that cost is a barrier for over half of women. By making birth control free, we can remove that barrier. The group with the highest amount of unintended pregnancies are those without high school degrees and those that are aged between 15 and 19. This is concerning because studies suggest that teen pregnancies compromise a woman's educational prospects and economic opportunities, and teen moms represent the highest group of unintended pregnancies. This fact is more concerning when you understand that the United States has the highest teen pregnancy rate of any developed nation. In 2012, there were reported 29.4 teen pregnancies per 1,000 births. And while this number may not seem high, it's substantially higher than other developed nations who have higher reported use of contraceptives. So we know that it's possible to get these numbers down. And it is declining. This graph shows birth per 1,000 females aged 15 to 19 years by race and ethnicity. And while it does exemplify the demographic disparity that I was talking about, the point I want to emphasize here is that the decline in birth rates for teens is consistent across the board. And this is related to the increase in access to birth control options and education for teens. To understand these better options, we have to look at the reality of the situation. 46% of 15 to 19-year-olds have had sex at least once. Abstinence programs have done little to affect this number at all. A third of teens receive no formal instruction about contraception. This means that education is a barrier. Studies prove that birth control prevents teen pregnancy and abortion when teens know about it and are able to use it properly. In order to understand the better options, we need to look at the reality of the situation. The reality is that 46% of 15 to 19-year-olds have had sex at least once, and studies show abstinence programs do little to affect this number. A third of teens receive no formal instruction about contraception. But studies also show that birth control can prevent teen pregnancy and abortion, but only if teens know about the options or how to use them properly. Contraception is key. This graphic shows us that although teen sexual activity has remained steady over time, improved access to birth control options for teens has led to a steady decline in teen pregnancy rates over time. We know that contraception is highly effective. For the 2/3 of women who use contraception consistently and correctly, they account for only 5% of all unintended pregnancies, while those who use contraception inconsistently or not at all account for 95% of all unintended pregnancies. There are also several case studies that show promise in the United States for contraceptive programs working. One such example is the Contraceptive Choice Program that was launched in St. Louis, Missouri. Through the program, they removed 3 barriers for birth control: lack of accurate info, lack of access, and lack of funds. Through this, they were able to achieve a 41% decrease in teen pregnancy rates. A Colorado program also saw a 2/3 decline in teen moms after a program that increased access to a reliable form of birth control. Additionally, the state of Colorado saw $66 to $69 million in savings from reduced welfare and health care programs for low-income mothers. This brings me to a point on the cost of unintended pregnancy. About 1 in 20 women will get pregnant unintentionally. In 2010, 51% of nearly 4 million births in the United States were paid for by government health insurance programs. This came out to a grand total of $21 billion spent on unintended teen pregnancy, and this works out to be about $336 for every single woman between the ages of 15 and 44. There are some estimates that without family planning services, these costs would be 75% higher than they are now. And furthermore, this has some implications because children of unintended pregnancy are more often than not born into lower income households. They will more often than not require assistance. So insurance companies will actually benefit from helping their customers prevent these unwanted pregnancies. When you consider the fact that preventing unintended pregnancy is far cheaper than supporting an unintended pregnancy, you begin to understand birth control as preventative medicine. You should note that of all unintended pregnancies, 42% end up in abortion, and 40% of those women have reported difficulty accessing contraception. So this seems to suggest that by improving access to contraception, that we can reduce the incidence of abortion. Some people are concerned with the fact that contraception might be considered a method of abortion, but I would like to point out that contraceptives, by medical definition, prevent pregnancy by interfering with ovulation, fertilization, or implantation, whereas abortion ends an established pregnancy after implantation. So the scientific definition of pregnancy reflects that most fertilized eggs fail to naturally implant. So the focus here should be on prevention rather than abortion. So which option should be covered? While many people argue that we can just go to the store and get condoms, condoms have been shown to be only 82% effective against preventing pregnancy. Prescription methods have been shown to be far more effective at 91 to 99%. These are things like the pill, intrauterine devices, shots, the ring, the patch. It's important to give access for women to what is scientifically proven to be the most effective methods. It's important to note that birth control does carry risks. A recent study found that women that use hormonal contraceptives are 3 times more likely to commit suicide. Though this number does sound alarming, overall, the risk is actually still very low. Of 500,000 women involved in the study, 71 of them committed suicide. Using hormonal contraceptives also carries an increased risk for blood clots. However, it's important to note that the increased risk of blood clots associated with pregnancies is actually higher. So I believe that birth control benefits outweigh the risks. By offering women accessible, affordable birth control and arming them with the education necessary to understand how to use these methods properly, we can find drastic drops in our unintended pregnancy rates, especially among teens.